Meanwhile, on Capitol Hill, the House voted to approve creating a commission to investigate the insurrection on January 6th. Democratic Representative Tim Ryan of Ohio slammed Republicans for not supporting it.
We have people scaling the Capitol, hitting the Capitol Police with lead pipes across the head, and we can't get bipartisanship. What else has to happen in this country? Cops. This is a slap in the face to every rank and file cop in the United States. If we're going to take on China, if we're going to rebuild the country, if we're going to reverse climate change, we need two political parties in this country that are both living in reality, and you ain't one of them.
In the end, 35 Republicans defied GOP leaders and joined Democrats in voting for it. The bill now heads to the Senate, where its fate is unclear. Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell has already said he will oppose the legislation. He is accusing Democrats of partisanship. All this comes as allies of former President Trump are now seeking vote audits in swing states. Republicans in states like Georgia and Michigan are trying to relitigate the 2020 election based on the false claim that there was widespread voter fraud. Rachel, I want to come to you. How likely is it that this commission comes together? And if it doesn't get approved, what will Democrats and Republicans do?
Yeah, I don't think it really stands a chance at this point in its current form in the Senate. We were on Capitol Hill talking to all of the Republican senators, mainly the ones who actually voted to convict former President Donald Trump in the second impeachment trial. I can tell you a handful, Senator Romney, Susan Collins, seemed to have a willingness towards some sort of commission, but they did want to see some type of changes. But the bottom line is there's not 10 votes in the Senate to do this, Republican votes. That's what the Democrats would need in order to get this through. And that was my question to House Speaker Nancy Pelosi this week is how long are you willing to wait before you move on this on your own and before Democrats over in the House form a select committee on their own? She wouldn't really give a timeline to that, but she did warn that either way, Democrats are going to investigate this. There's a real fear on Capitol Hill among lawmakers right now that this is going to happen again. And for Republicans, sources that I've been talking to in the party, a lot of them just really fear that this was going to hang over the midterm elections. Even though the commission would have ended by the end of the year, they thought that it would drip, 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 dabble, 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 on and on and on, and it would continue to hang over the critical midterm elections at a time when Trump is still a central part of the party.
Trump is clearly a central part of the party, and Republicans that I've been talking to definitely are worried about what the implications are if there are testimonies about January 6th. Asma, I want to come to you. What's the White House's view of all of this? How are they going to handle this? And how will they deal with this when you think of the midterms coming up in 2022?
Well, the White House and Joe Biden himself, President Biden, has said that he would like there to be a bipartisan commission. At this point, as Rachel was saying, that doesn't seem likely, which I think is just fascinating, given that it's modeled off of the 9/11 Commission as a bipartisan group. But I think, look, this just speaks to the fact that the 9/11 Commission was based off of an attack by outsiders. This was an attack committed by those within the United States, and there doesn't seem to be consensus with how to deal with this. I think some of this is about, certainly senators wanting to shift the conversation to other issues like the economy, et cetera. But part of this, to me, has always been the fact that Donald Trump, in the 2016 election, was not an isolated force. I've often said he tapped into this pre-existing condition in the country. And there are certainly Republicans, particularly in the House, who feel that it is a liability to openly essentially disagree with the former president.
Jeff, former President Trump still has so much influence over the GOP, but his legal troubles are multiplying. This week, New York Attorney General Letitia James announced that she's teaming up with the Manhattan District Attorney for a criminal investigation into the Trump Organization. I wonder, from your point of view, what is the legal jeopardy that this could cause for former President Trump, and how does that connect to all that we're talking about, the commission, the GOP, sticking with President Trump?
Well, look, it just shows how fragile the Republican Party's decision to really embrace the former president is. I mean, as he begins to make his way from Mar-a-Lago, where he's been for the last 5 months, up to Bedminster, New Jersey, to spend the summer and early fall, he really is going to be in the shadow of this investigation in New York by the Manhattan District Attorney as well as the New York Attorney General. Now, we do not know if they are going to bring criminal charges, but the sense that they said out loud that they are now pursuing that type of investigation certainly opens that distinct possibility. It could be a variety of things. Now, we do know that that a tax fraud is one possibility. Also, making false statements is a possibility. And if you think about the Trump organization, it is a very small, family-run organization. And nothing gets under the former president's skin more than someone's looking into his finances, his personal finances, or his family's finances. So all of this is coming. It really, is a risky bet for House Republicans, particularly Kevin McCarthy, to throw all the chips in with the former president here, because we do not know his standing at the end of all this. But one thing that is interesting, and we'll have to watch how this plays out. The Republican base is still very energized around the idea of this election fraud, which has not been proven. In fact, there are no examples of widespread election fraud that would have impacted the election at all. Yet these audits are going on in Arizona, other places. For now, the Republicans I talk to say that's fine, it's keeping the base energized. But the reality is, by allowing, by not moving on from the former president, they have invited him directly into their table for 2022. And Mitch McConnell has made the decision, the Senate Minority Leader has made the decision to not go after, not support this commission, not because of President Trump per se, because he is focused on trying to win a Senate majority, and he does not want this hanging over him. But boy, it is very risky. And the Republicans, who are still so concerned about what happened on that day, are uneasy about not doing the simple step of simply investigating it. But President Trump is still directing his party.
Andrea, Jeff just said, President Trump is still at the table. I think he's probably at the head of that table, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me a bit about how the GOP both, of course, wants to put the 2020 election behind them, but also wants to relitigate the 2020 election. How is that complicating all of this? And really, what does it say about our democracy and the dangers that this might have?
It's very frightening in terms of the democracy, because never before have we had a president of the United States not concede an election. We even had a very graceful concession from Al Gore when there were 500 and some votes deciding that election in Florida, and it took the Supreme Court and conceded it. He had to. It was a Supreme Court decision. But in this case, it wasn't even close. And so for him not to concede, it definitely hampered the transition on a lot of major issues: defense, intelligence, COVID preparations, vaccine distribution. So there were real issues. And now we see vacancies and not having ambassadors in key places like Israel. A lot of things would have happened much more quickly if there had been a normal transition between even two opposing parties. We've seen that before. But the fundamental undermining of the democracy is, I think, what is so profoundly disturbing. And especially after January 6th, Rachel was there. She experienced it. I have colleagues who were there, who were in the gallery on their hands and knees with the people who were being threatened, and for the House members who were more threatened than the Senate members, actually, with the effort to get into the chamber, to be denying the reality of it, and to see what's going on in Arizona, where now the Secretary of State in Arizona has said that none of their voting machines can be used in the 2022 election. They have to buy all new voting machines because the chain of custody has been broken, because this, ninja group has
the
got,
cyber ninjas, yes.
The cyber ninjas have got the voting machines, so there's no way to prove that they haven't been tampered with. And so it's just, and now that's, as you say, being, mirrored in legislature after legislature. It's just a complete denial of the process of democracy.